program, I realized that the two Reginalds were left for last. I don't know if it was by design, but Reggie, I'm going before you. The livestock sector, and I'm going to try to summarize as much as possible, get into the meat of the presentation. All the presenters before me spoke about the issues of agriculture, and these issues such as trade liberalization, pest and disease, the need for food, the desire for people to earn more. All these affect livestock as well. And as a country, we have decided, or we have tried to come with the right mix of livestock, so that we can meet and address some of these challenges. So if I just quickly go on to the sweetest one, which is honey. We recognize that Dominica has, in terms of its flora, ideal and pristine conditions for the production of honey. We recognize that it is still marginalized, and as a ministry, we have come together with the stakeholders, the producers, the other stakeholders such as the AICAs, etc., to bring this sector to some kind of development. And so we have come together, we have developed a project that is ongoing as we speak. The Central Livestock Farm is playing a pivotal role in that project, that developmental project. We have placed at the farm a queen rearing facility, which will form the basis by which we expand the sector. Expanding this sector requires rapid multiplication of the bees, and we have not had that capacity. But right now, at the Central Livestock Farm, in collaboration with the two bee cooperatives, we are able to produce and rapidly multiply the bees and to help expand the sector. The markets exist for honey in Guadeloupe and Martinique. We still have sort of a black market for that product. The areas of agro-processing, the propolis and the other byproducts that can be made for honey, these are all opportunities that exist in that sector. We think it's something that can be done. It can be integrated with other forms of agriculture or tree crop production, etc., as we go forward. So honey, we think, is a honey production, we think, is an important area in terms of the expanding of our livestock production. And I think many people did not think that honeybees can be considered livestock. The vet services is responsible in part for the management of that particular insect. Also, it's very important as we go into agricultural production, the need for honeybees for pollination purposes and expanding our food production. So the small ruminant sector, when we looked at the shocks, the issues related to feed production, the rising cost of feed, we looked as a ministry at what are the livestock that can be grown effectively, that can be reared effectively with minimal cost. And small ruminants play an integral part in that, that mix. The Central Livestock Farm was developed or opened in 2007. It's about 100 acres of land, with the building capacity to hold in excess of 300 breeding females as related to sheep and goats. And that is placed in the northeast of the island at Londonderry. We recognize that there were some issues with feed production, the breeding material, the genetic material, and we sought to form alliances or develop programs that could address some of the issues associated with the expansion of the sector. So under this financial year, through the banana accompanying measures, we have sought to address some of these issues as it relates to the multiplication program. So we have done small ruminant production primarily using natural mating. We recognize that this is a very slow and tedious process. There are new technologies existing, and so we sought to introduce some of that technology into Dominica. And we are in the process of launching a project to look at the introduction of artificial breeding, that is artificial insemination and embryo transfer. So essentially we could purchase a fertilized embryo and introduce it into a mother. So these are some of the opportunities that exist with our farmers in terms of expanding their production quickly. The technology transfer, we use the farmer field school approach that was mentioned earlier, where we look at training the farmers in the areas of livestock production as a means of, again, improving their production and their productivity. A lot has been said about the abattoir and the expansion of pork and poultry. In an earlier slide, we looked at the importation of the import figures from 2006 to 2012, or 2012, and we saw that upward trend as it relates to the import of meat. And we are now importing near $14 million only in poultry and $4 or $5 million in pork and pork products. So we see the opportunities that exist in that sector. So the abattoir project has come along and tried to deal with some of the major issues related to the expansion of that sector. We know that there are still issues relating to the feed, and government has introduced fiscal incentives in the form of removal of VAT and import duties, all as a means of becoming more competitive, lowering the price, the cost of production, and to make us a little bit more competitive. So the abattoir program is on stream. We have just imported over 2,000 day-old chicks. They came in Friday, and yesterday we got another set. These birds are going to be reared. They are being reared by farmers, and in 6 weeks we would have tested that abattoir and to be ready for production. So the opportunity there that exists as it relates to farmers in terms of getting on board on the program, producing to meet the requirements of that abattoir. Again, I raised the point, it's $14 million just in terms of poultry products, and another $5 million as it relates to pork and pork products. So the ministry is standing ready in terms of its programs to support that sector in the form of training. We have developed several training models as it relates to the farmers who will get on board. We're going to be doing the targeting of farmers, looking at farmers who are at a particular capacity. The ability to compete again is critical, and so we are not going to be able to do all and every farmer. We would need to target our production, expand the production to meet the market demands. So the areas of certification will come in. I see Dr. John there. The areas of food safety are important as well as we get into that industry. So all these training programs will be introduced, and the farmers will benefit from these opportunities, the training opportunities. All right, so as in terms of the selection process of the farmers, all this we will deal with in terms of the targeting of the farmers, and who and what and which farmer and which area can get into production. We also have a major issue relating to farm organizations, where we see farm organizations getting smaller, the number of farm organizations getting smaller and smaller. And when we did agriculture well, when we did livestock production well, we had vibrant farm organizations. So the ministry is again, from the Livestock Development Unit, looking to promote the formation of, or encourage the formation of farm organizations, and strengthen them, retool them if necessary to make them stronger and more vibrant so they can come on board with us, form clusters where necessary, to help us in developing that sector. The livestock sector, the expansion in the sector, it's an industry. There are going to be teething pains, there are going to be difficulties, but together as we form that collaborative effort, we can move that sector going forward. The poultry and Dominica is unique in terms of the OECS. It's probably one of the islands we're self-sufficient in eggs. We produce all the table eggs that we need. During the Christmas, we have shortfalls of production, but we produce enough eggs to feed our people. And that sector is worth well over $5 million when we did our analysis. And that is $5 million that is produced here and circulated among our people. It's an important sector. We continue to work with those farmers, try to mitigate against the issues that affect them, the feed, the availability of chicks. These are concerns that they have, but we continue to work as a ministry, as a department, in trying to forge ahead in terms of keeping that sector alive and going forward. We have things to do. We recognize that we need to look at the marketing strategies, etc., to ensure that there are not too many shortfalls going forward. As I speak about the issue of eggs, of day-old chicks, that is also a major concern as we expand the sector. The importation of day-old chicks out of Barbados is indeed a challenge in terms of getting the numbers that we need when we need them. The feed I mentioned already with government's intervention in terms of trying to lower the prices. We are not producers of grain, which are the major ingredients of the feed, but in terms of the fiscal incentives that can be put in place, they have already been put in place, and as a means of lowering the price or the cost of the feed. Okay, so the production, we will recommend particular size of operation as a means of ensuring that there's competitiveness. We want as many young people as is possible to get into that sector. I mean, when we look at some of our poultry farmers, the average age is 50, and that's putting it modestly. So we need to bring new people on board, and I've heard of a number of initiatives where we can get we can try at the school level, at the college level, where we can get people on board to be part of that important sector, that new thing, that abattoir that is coming on board, and the expansion of this sector. Okay, so I just want to touch a little bit on what are the capacities of the abattoir, so we understand what we are dealing with. The abattoir we have constructed will do 50 pigs a day and do up to 500 birds an hour. So this is the capacity of that facility, and these are the opportunities that will exist as we get our producers on board to meet the demands of that abattoir. I think the Honorable Minister made the point we need to look at local, buying local. We spoke a lot about the NCDs, the communicable diseases, and some of those that are nutritional issues that are associated with some of the things that we import. And here it is, there's an opportunity to collaborate, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, to put forward a product, put forward something that is uniquely Dominican, or is Dominican, and that we can reap the benefits, some of the major benefits that exist from that investment. By way of summary, I got this little model where it looks at your beliefs, your potential, the action, and the results. And if you begin anywhere you begin, you end up with some level of success. Together, I think we can do it. I think post Erica, if I may, I don't think all was not lost. We lost a few animals, yes, but the sector is intact. we can still produce. We did not lose many of our buildings. We lost, as I said, we lost a few animals. So we can rebuild together. The ministry, the government of Dominica. I think the government of Dominica has displayed, extreme support for the sector and trying to get it to go forward. So farmers out there listening to my voice, I think we can do it. We can rebuild Dominica. And rebuilding it, but bearing in mind some of the issues related to climate change and being able to do the disaster risk management measures that we have all spoken about. So we want to do it together, but we want to do it in a smart way, in the right way, looking at some of what we have spoken about. So with these few words, I'm sorry I had to rush a little bit. I rest my case. Thank you.